Welcome back now. The latest from Ukraine, which is facing a sixth day of war as several cities are under attack this morning. A massive explosion rocked a government building in Kharkiv this morning. Ukrainian President Zelensky is still holding the front lines, staying there till the bitter end. Officials are asking to join the European Union as he says Russia is targeting children. Today's missile strikes and shelling come as a 40-mile-long Russian convoy closes in on the capital of Ukraine, ready to launch a bloody battle for Kyiv. This after talks between Ukraine and Russia ended yesterday with no deal. Joining me right now is Louisiana Congressman and House Minority Whip Steve Scalise. Congressman, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here. What is your assessment of Ukraine now saying, look, we want an equal part of Europe. We want to be part of Europe and be an equal part member of Europe. They are fighting back this effort to take them down by Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, good morning, Maria. And look, what President Zelensky has done and the people of Ukraine have done, I think they've inspired all of Europe and all of the world, everybody who believes in freedom and people that just want to defend themselves. The way that they're doing it so bravely, pushing back Putin under a mass assault, is something that we all should support, not just appreciate and applaud, but support. He needs assistance. He needs additional help. You know, I've talked to some people in Parliament over the last few days, some other military leaders about things that they need. They asked months ago for Stinger missiles, for example, so they can have surface-to-air capability. You wouldn't see all this carpet bombing right now if President Biden had given them that aid months ago. But in the meantime, we've got to get them everything that we can now. But something else we need to do, Maria, and you and I have talked about this, we've got to cut off Putin's financing of this war, and a large part of that is oil that, frankly, President Biden gave him leverage on by cutting off the spigots in America. There are many specific actions that I've called on President Biden to reverse, things that President Biden did in the last year that have given Putin more leverage. And by the way, with oil over $100 a barrel now, if we could reverse some of these things, it would take money out of his pocket. He's probably making over $60 billion additional dollars for his war efforts against Ukraine by a higher price of oil. It's time for President Biden to step up and open up American energy, if for no other reason than to undermine Putin's leverage and taking away his financing capabilities that he's using to fund this war.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm trying to better understand right now, Congressman. We are in a sixth day of fighting in Ukraine, and we are still, as a country, the United States, importing oil from Russia. You've got to explain this to me. Is there anything you can do as an elected official to change this situation? I mean, not only is the U.S. reliant on Russia, at the same time that it's saying Russia is so bad, stand with Ukraine. I mean, not only are we importing oil from Russia, but we also have Russia as the mediator, acting on the U.S.'s behalf in the Vienna talks, trying to get the United States back into this Iran deal. And we're in a sixth day of fighting. Will anything change?
Maria, this is insane. And this is where we need to be calling out the administration. Again, President Biden is acting like he's all supportive of Ukraine, that he's standing up to Putin. He hasn't stood up to Putin.
Exactly.
He's handed Putin the checkbook, the financing tools to fund this war. He look, just a few weeks ago, President Biden put a ban, a freeze on all new oil and gas permits, all of them. This is after the federal courts pushed back on his cost of carbon limited a federal lands ban that he put in place. He went even wider with it. We've got to call him out. I've called him out to reverse these policies immediately. You don't support the people of Ukraine if you're funding the guy, Putin, who is invading Ukraine, if you're funding his war, which you're doing by importing oil because he shut off American energy. Open up American energy. They keep talking about carbon. What's the carbon footprint of this war? What's the carbon footprint of Russian oil? It's higher than American oil. We actually have better standards.
Well, it's a very good point.
We should be making all of our energy and exporting to our friends and not taking in any from Russia.
Yeah. And yet, Congressman, tonight is the president's State of the Union address, the first State of the Union address, and we are expecting to hear more climate change conversation. Instead of focusing on geopolitical issues, the skyrocketing crime, prices going up for everything, inflation, a wide open border, and a massive crisis there, he is going to talk about climate change, asking Congress to revive the climate spending and tax credits, which he claims are going to lower inflation. I don't know how he gets that math done. And he is also speaking tonight as his poll numbers plummet. A new poll shows only 37% of Americans actually approve of the job he's been doing as president. So, Congressman, here we are at a situation where the dependence on foreign nations who will use it against us is clearer than ever before as Russia moves those tanks into Ukraine. And listen to John Kerry. I've got to call this out because it's absolutely extraordinary. Here's what John Kerry is thinking about, even as Vladimir Putin puts his nuclear troops on high alert. Watch this.
So I hope President Putin will help us to stay on track with respect to what we need to do for the climate.
Stay on track, Congressman.
My God. Yeah.
John Kerry, could he have a more of a tin ear right now?
I mean, what parallel universe is he living in? And by the way, what's the carbon footprint of John Kerry flying around the world talking about global warming on private jets and begging Putin to help us? Look, we should be standing up to Putin. I've called on President Biden to reverse all of his anti-American energy policies and stop relying on Putin. If any of your strategy as the United States president involves Vladimir Putin, will you help us fill in the blank? You should end the sentence and change it and say, we don't need Putin anymore. We're standing up to him. And we're going to provide not only our own energy, we're going to stop importing Russian oil, but we're going to supply our allies around the world with oil and natural gas so they don't have to get it to Putin. Do you know that his own administration, Biden's, has not even approved a pipeline, an LNG export permit in the last year? They're sitting on the shelves ready to go, where we don't need Putin's energy and Europe won't need Putin's energy.
And I just mentioned that everything he says is materializing in business. The Blackstone Group just the other day said that they will no longer fund oil and gas exploration. This was their biggest business at one point. But real quick, we've got Alex Sanchez with us today, who is the CEO of really overseeing major banks, mid-sized banks. The climate change issue, Alex, is even a banking issue for this administration.
That's correct, Maria. Congressman Scalise, great to see you again. You know, just to show you the softening economy under President Biden's watch, John Kerry and Governor Brainerd at the Fed are urging our banks to be the climate police to enforce federal environmental guidelines on the bank customers to see what their carbon footprint is. Congressman, that's going to kill a major supplier of funding for small businesses in America, America's community banks. And we just can't have that. I mean, community banks cannot afford that cost of compliance. That will further hurt this economy, Congressman, if community bankers in Louisiana and across the country have to comply with this. This is outrageous.
Final word, Congressman, real quick.
Yeah, Alex, and we've called on President Biden, by the way, through the Federal Reserve, Treasury, and SEC to reverse those policies where they're going after energy companies. All of this has to change. The State of the Union's in disarray because of President Biden's policies. I hope he talks about reversing it tonight. I don't think he will, because he doesn't get it. He doesn't care about the things that are hurting hardworking families. That's what he should be focused on, and stand with Ukraine by taking away Putin's leverage.
Yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see what he says about his Build Back Better agenda and the climate focus. Congressman, it's great to see you. Thanks very much. We know you'll be in that chamber tonight, and we'll be watching the speech. Thank you, sir. Congressman Steve Scalise joining us.